Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I pay homage to the Buddha, the fully enlightened one, the awakened one. Today, I'd like to speak of how I became a Buddhist and a Theravada monk. I was born in Uganda, East Africa, and I was given a name, African name, by my parents, Kabogoza. As Uganda is a Christian country, I was baptized later on and given the name Stephen. So, in my early life, my names were Stephen Kabogoza. I lived in Uganda a normal life. Childhood, going to nursery school with all kids, praying around, and it was great fun. So I received my primary education in Uganda. I would say lower education, because also I attended secondary school in Uganda. Most of the schools I attended were Christian schools. They were under Christian instructions, brothers of Christian instructions. So all these people who used to lead these schools were brothers, and they had all long white gowns and a cross hanging around their neck. So I was really modified into a life which actually coincided with the life I lived at home, because my parents also are Christians. By the way, Uganda has 66% of Christian in the whole of Africa. So Uganda has the highest percentage of Christian in the whole African continent, which is the second largest continent. So Uganda is a wonderful country with full of Christians. And of course other regions count for the rest of the percentages. We have a small percentage of Hindu and other tribal regions. So growing up in such an environment where we had Christianity at home and at school, I used to go to church on Friday and at school, and our school was near the cardinal, the head of the archdiocese. And then when I go home on Sunday, I'm expected to go to church. Every morning they always advise us to practice in the Christian way. I was devoted to Christianity, and it made a lot of sense in my life, that chunk of life. I used to study religious education at school. So I have a big influence of Christianity. I was born in '66, so I lived in Uganda until 1990. So when the chance arose to go to India, I filled in the application form as an exchange program between Uganda and India. So I became a Government of India scholar to go studying in India in Punjab University. Going to India was a wonderful opportunity for me, because that was the first time even I boarded a plane. That's the first time I traveled overseas alone, no parents, no what. I felt a little bit sad when I was leaving my relatives. I remember waving them, going to a new land. A land which later on coming to introduce me to the depth and the profound teaching of the Buddha. By that time, I didn't know what's going to take place. When I reached India, I searched for church. Within a few days, I knew where to go for prayers as a Christian, but it was far away from where I was studying. Still, I managed to go to church, but there was inner search within myself what was going on in this new culture, the Indian culture. There were so many traditions, Hindu, Baha'i, you name it, many traditions in India that I found out. And I had a few friends who were Christian. I decided to ask myself, what is this people are doing in India? What's this? With all the population in India, I found few Christians and few churches, especially in North India where I was. Then I started to ask myself slowly, and I said, all right, I'm going to ask these people what they believe in. They told me they believe in gurus. And I remember in my hostel there was a small hall where you put the gurus and pictures, but I didn't put anything there. So when I visited my Indian friends, they had something put there as their gurus. I asked where they are. All right. They told me where to find the gurus. But for me that time I know Jesus Christ as my Savior. But later on I said, no, let me search for other tradition and see what's going on there. Straight away I went to Baha'i. Baha'i offered me a good opportunity to explore different ways of things, and they seem to be very, very open and more open and embracing all traditions. So I was converted in New Delhi. There's a Baha'i temple, beautiful Baha'i temple, and then I started distributing brochures. I was very happy to see different people. Actually, some people they were Iranians. So that was very good. So that was a shift from Christian to Baha'i. Baha'i, I wasn't comfortable. Still, there was this inner search for true happiness and deep and profound truth. I started going into Tibetan Buddhism. I went to Dharamsala. About that time, I entered a society, a youth society, and they sent me many books, literatures regarding Buddhism. But I really didn't know what Buddhism is. When I went back to Chandigarh and traveled around, one time I found a man who was very quiet, and he used to go in the evening. He seemed to be very humble. And I said, where do you go? He said he goes to meditate. I said, oh, what kind of meditation? He said, Brahma Kumarij. Oh, I didn't really take into heart. I went back to the hostel, and at hostel we had two monks from Thailand. They were doing masters in public administrations. We are so close to these monks. We are so friendly. But they never told me what meditation is. They used to give me food, they give me everything. They didn't tell me about meditation. This is very typical to Theravada really, because they don't want to convert anybody. But one time I took my bicycle and went to that meditation place where they practice samatha meditation with a disc, a red disc. And then I came back, I told these monks, I've been meditating. They said, what? What kind of meditation you're doing? I said it was just closing your eyes, sitting cross-legged in a dark, and then it was a red light and something behind was producing sounds. You are known to soul, you are indestructible soul, and all that was coming at the background. It is typical kind of meditation that exists even before the Buddha. It's called samatha meditation. But focusing on that disc, which was a red one, it kind of calmed my mind at that time, and I thought, oh, this is meditation. When I told the monks, they said, no, come and try Vipassana meditation. So at that time, then they opened to me, and they started telling me about meditation. They told me meditation. They told me I should go for retreat and all that stuff. So it's kind of amazing that these monks, they told me more about meditation only when I've really tried by myself, and I developed interest. So I started searching for where to go for meditation, Goenka in Bombay, but I couldn't make it at that time to go to Bombay. It was far away, and I had so many commitments. Then what I did is to go to Dharamsala, where they had a retreat, Buddhist retreat, and I attended my first retreat there in the early 90s. It was an opening. My first teacher was called Dr. Alex Bazin, who graduated from Harvard University, and he was, at that time was teaching in India. He introduced me to Buddhism. I did an introductory course. I said, wow, this is what I want in my life. It was very interesting, the keeping of the quietness, the walking, watching intention. It was very peaceful compared to the chaos I was going into in the daily life, trying to go to school, do this and that. So it was really very kind of calming. I say, this is what real life is about. So I started losing interest in other pursuits. I decided to follow the Buddha's teaching from there and then seriously. At that time, I went to New Delhi to volunteer for 1 year in a spiritual organization which had all different traditions. It was not one specific tradition, but different traditions, Zen, Buddhism. You mentioned that all of us were living together, trying to try to foster spiritual development through harmonious living and working together. I left India for Nepal to look and search for spirituality. When I went to Nepal, there was no course for Vipassana. I went to Tibet, visiting temple pilgrimages, visiting high lamas, listening to chanting. That seemed to create inner peace, seeing the monks. It was a wonderful experience. When I went to Tibet, there was an opening of finding this tradition of Bon mixed with Buddhism. That had a bearing on the tradition which was in Uganda at that time before Christianity. They had similar kind of rituals which I'd seen in pre-Christianity in my country. So I got really immersed in Buddhism, specifically Tibetan Buddhism, but also interest in Zen. Later on, I decided to go further up, reading more tradition, Hindus, collecting books on Hindu and all other tradition in India. So at that time, actually, I was following spirituality in general, meeting different teachers. Later on, I'd say, I want to dedicate the whole of my life trying to search for the truth. I had never done a long retreat. So I heard that you can do a 3-month retreat, not even writing a letter, but just meditate. So I came to the US in 1999 to do a 3-month retreat at Insight Meditation Center, Insight Meditation Society in Massachusetts, Barre, Massachusetts. At that time, when I arrived in the USA, I found a different country. It was not like Asia, living in the Himalayas and with all these gurus and these sadhus and yogis. But it was really different, coming to a new land. But I was strong in Buddhism at that time. I say I'm determined to do a 3-month retreat. So I started exploring the mysteries of the mind. From the airport straight away to the meditation cushion. The first days were a bit challenging because I had to spend a year before I came to the USA. I had to spend 1 year in South America, in Chile, Brazil and Bolivia, traveling. Sitting on a meditation cushion offered a lot of challenges for me, having that stillness. But the determination was on the front, playing the front seat role. I was determined to look at my mind after letting go most of the things. After 3 months retreat, I was very clear what is very important for me in life. I found out really happiness depends on inner factors, inner circumstances, not outer circumstances. Outer circumstances may provide a little bit of motivation, but true happiness really lied in cultivating inner qualities like meditation. I had rearranged my life in a way that external condition would bring me happiness. I wasn't born a monk. I was running after every pleasures, diving, chasing after females, and really, just like a lay person. I wasn't born a holy person. I was just a normal lay person. So I rearranged my life in a way that I can seek the most happiness out of it. But here, 3 months, I didn't have all these kind of pleasures, and I was a lay person. But just meditation, without thinking of all these external conditions, pressures, it provided inner peace. And I say, let me deepen my practice by becoming even a monk and ordained. So, 3 months finished, I got to know some of the best teachers in the USA, and some of them actually have been at IMS, especially my teacher was in the United States, has been in the United States since 1979. He came actually with Mahasayado to IMS, and he was one of the people who authorized teachers to teach in the West. So I knew where he was, in California. So I went to California and asked for ordination so that I can dedicate the whole of my life to the practice of Buddha's teaching. When I reached California, Venerable Silananda was not there, but the abbot was there. I asked them that I would like to ordain. They told me that I should practice first, so, to see if I understand the teaching of the Buddha. So I was there for 3 months practicing intensively, doing nothing but practicing. And later on, when they saw how I was practicing, they decided to ordain me. Ordination was new to me. I've never attended the ordination ceremony. For the first time to see ordination is when I was ordaining. First as a novice monk, and immediately as a high ordination. It was a wonderful ceremony. I had the sponsors, Vietnamese sponsors, my ordination sponsors, who encouraged me on a path. And they brought everything that I need for ordination. The robes, the alms bowl. In the afternoon, the ordination took place. A big event in my life. As the hair was being shaved off, as I was advised to shave it off, I saw renunciation taking place, changing lay clothes to robes which I've never put on. When I faced the teacher and went through the ordination ceremony, I really didn't know what I was going into, and that portion was wonderful. But after the ordination ceremony, which was attended by many monks in California from Burmese tradition, there's at some stage when they ask me to turn, after putting on robes and everything and we do all the ceremony, they ask me to turn and face the audience. And that time they asked the audience to bow down in front of me. I melted. I could not handle it, seeing all people bowing in front of me. After all, I didn't know what I was getting into. I just wanted to deepen my practice. It took me days to understand why people were bowing in front of me. I never liked people to bow in front of me. But reflecting the teaching of the Buddha, the teachings of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, the three triple gem, that an ordained person embodies and carries on and joins the link of the tradition which has been living over 2,500 years ago. I really came to terms that people are respecting that. Not a little African boy who was born in a little village in Uganda, in a tribe which is Baganda, and in a region which is Buganda. They didn't understand what I speak. I speak Luganda. But immediately, all monks, I was part of them, and they're part of me. I felt a community, sense of community. When I ordained that time, I really didn't know another side of Buddha's teaching, which was very profound, which was the Vinaya. So they told me that I have to keep 227 rules. I was just only been keeping 5 precepts. So I didn't know really what it entails. And they told me about them. I said, no, it's going to be very difficult to keep 227 rules. But as my teacher told me to be mindful, the way even I put on a robe, every way I act, I should be mindful. Then these rules actually were not very difficult to really observe. I didn't have to keep them on top of my head, but I knew that they exist and I needed to be mindful. I stayed in this temple in California at Tathagata Meditation Center in San Jose, as Venerable Usilananda was my preceptor, and the instructor was Venerable Osada. They live in Half Moon Bay now in California. There is a nun from Vietnam who was preparing food and offering food for me. He always took joy in offering food to me. Unfortunately, he left for Vietnam, and I was there. Nobody to offer me vegetarian food. So I decided to change the monastery where I ordained and went to the Bhavana Society where I'm residing now, and took dependence with the chief monk, the highest ranked monk in the whole of North America, Bante Buddharakhita, who is now my current teacher. I've been staying with him for almost 2 years. He has taught me many things that I feel I don't miss anything, that I left my temple and to go to another temple. He's a great friend who is my preceptor. So I took dependence under Venerable Buddharakhita. There we study sutras, we study Vinaya, meditation. He trains me so that I can spread the Dhamma in Africa, where I don't know any African monk at the moment, north of River Limpopo and south of Sahara. That's according to my knowledge, and I hope to go there next year and see that I can share what I found in all my travels to different continents, sojourning to India, searching for gurus searching for new tradition which we don't have in Africa. Going far away, coming to the new American continent, which I thought I'll never live here. I feel that all my travels was just a preparation for this kind of training. When I reflect on my childhood, I could not eat the food which is very common in Uganda, which is meat. I thought I'll never live a life in Africa, but when I went to India, they offered me vegetarian food. So being a monk in Bhavana, where they don't offer meat, they offer vegetarian food, it's wonderful for my monk life. And when I reflect back in my childhood, where I didn't really associate so much with the big crowds, I always wanted to stay in my room alone, in seclusion, in solitude. I wasn't meditating probably, but I was just quiet in my room. That offered me now a rich ground to stay alone in the trees, in the woods, in the Bhavana society, without having the need to go to big crowds. So that was the positive points during my childhood, the kind of diet, the kind of seclusion I had. Now I'm at Staten Island Temple, meeting all these wonderful monks. And Bante Kondanya has given me an opportunity to come and visit here. The people are wonderful, Sri Lankan people, Sri Lankan monks are very friendly, and I would like to live with them, and I will visit Sri Lanka. There is a person here I'm traveling with called Podamdru Damaratana. He's a wonderful companion as we are traveling now, visiting various temples. I hope my life that I lived will help you and will inspire you to explore new opportunities for understanding and wisdom. May you all live a happy life.